What's going on? Why is the quality so bad? Do I have to change the bitrate? I can never get this streaming stuff right, man. Never. Let me see. I got to pull up the stream on my phone. My phone. My business card. Okay. Is it 720? Oh, okay. It's 1080 now. What's going on, guys? How are we doing? How are we doing there, chaps? Why am I wearing this hat? No reason. I gotta keep the... That's perfect. Yeah, it looks really good. All right, let me sit back in my chair. I've got my coffee. Sipping it. You know? Where the fuck do I keep my coffee? Sorry. Let's let everyone kind of sit into the stream. I'm too big for these surroundings right now. I'm trying out doing live streaming from the place I usually sit when I record videos. Does this look better for you guys? Let me know. Does my change in attire please you? Ugh. We got a ton of stuff we got to get into on stream today. Ton of stuff. We got to talk about Garcia Davis. We've got to talk about Nate. I was about to say Nate Paul. Nate Diaz, Jake Paul. We got to talk about all that stuff, man. And I got some Kingpin analysis videos coming up. Not a breakdown of the entire event, but just breakdowns of the individual fighters. So we got all that stuff coming up, but a stacked up stream today. So I want to start off the stream, and since the laptop is way too far away for me to ever type something in on that, I want to have my phone here to look things up. So there's still a warrant out for Nate Diaz's arrest. Nate Diaz charged with second-degree battery, arrest warrant issued. That was 1 day ago. But I don't know if this is going to affect the fight. Because Nate Diaz, at the end of the day, he is a celebrity. Nate Diaz is a celebrity. What's going on? The three people in this chat, we're talking about the Nate Diaz arrest and whether or not this puts Jake in any real jeopardy. And thank you, by the way. I do know my hat is fucking awesome. Thank you for... You didn't even have to say anything. I knew through the screen that you guys were like, dude, this is the best hat ever designed. Just a design choice I'm trying. I want to look as much like Indiana Jones as possible when I record these things. But I don't know if this is going to affect the fight in any way. I'd assume it would, right? If he gets charged. So it would be battery. The charge would be battery. Second degree battery. So what does that... Let's look up how much of a jail sentence that holds. Dope thumbnail, thank you. Dude, yeah, my thumbnail game has been getting better, Balloons. I appreciate it. The thumbnail game has been strong. I want to get into your comment, too, on my latest video, Balloons, because I think it holds a lot of weight. I was not expecting you to drop just a college essay worth of words down there. But we'll get to it. We'll definitely get to that. I just want to see how much of a second degree battery, how much of a sentence that holds in Louisiana. Fine not more than $2,000. Whoever commits a crime of second-degree battery shall be fined not more than $2,000 or imprisoned with or without hard labor for no more than 8 years, or both. So he could be in the slammer for about 8 years. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is I was curious as to whether or not this puts the fight in real jeopardy. I think it does, obviously. Right? I mean, you'd have to suspect. Shit. Got coffee on my Indiana Jones costume. Should I do this for Halloween, guys? Should I be Indiana Jones? I look like a grave robber right now. But we have more input. Two viewers just left. They're like, fuck this. This is not entertaining enough. No, but I don't know. I did a video. You guys saw it. Responding to KSI. I don't know, man. KSI recently has just been, in my personal opinion, I love KSI. And I never want to make anything too negative about anyone, but that I was recording that video, and that was getting me. The more of the video I reacted to while I was making my video, truth be told, the angrier I got. It was just very infuriating to hear him talk like that about Nate Diaz. You know? Because Nate Diaz can strike, man. It's like KSI hasn't watched any UFC footage. I know I said this in the video, but to me, it's like, dude, use your eyes. Yeah, isn't the big... Well, that's... it was more close... If it was more close to the fight. Yeah, I think he'll probably just settle out of court or something like that. I can't imagine. That's the other thing I was going to say is, you know, with these bigger celebrities, you know, there's sentences for regular people and then there's sentences for the celebrities. So I would err on the side of this fight still happening. And that's why I did still release that video. KSI also had the Silva disrespect a while back. Yeah, dude, I mean, KSI just doesn't seem like he knows a ton about MMA, which is fine, but I don't know, if you're going to make a video trying to discredit someone, and this is, I should have kind of included this in my video that I did earlier this week. If you're going to include the slander of someone, right? And I honestly, like, I don't see, going backwards to Nate Diaz, I understood that optically it didn't look that bad, like good for Jake, but if KSI is going to make that type of video where he's shitting on Jake, he's got to come correct. Right? Because then you're going to get people like me that put KSI in the title also because it always does numbers when you do that. But people like me that kind of do know what they're talking about, or I never say I know what I'm talking about in anything, but have watched UFC, will take one look at that video and say, wait a second, Nate Diaz has top tier striking. At the very least, boxing. Maybe his kickboxing isn't, you know, up to par with, like, let's just say a Cowboy Cerrone or a Leon Edwards. Certainly not with a Leon Edwards. But his boxing? The Ben Askren situation happened because Ben only went in for a paycheck. But he was also, like, he had 2 hip surgeries. That was the other thing. I probably could do an entire stream. Yeah, didn't care about anything else. Yeah, you know, he's got to get his money. I could probably do an entire stream just picking apart why I believe that KSI was super duper wrong in that video. Just discrediting Nate to discredit Jake. You know, what? The whole weight thing where Nate Diaz walks around at... Well, I looked it up. His official walk-around weight is 170. So putting on 15 pounds, especially, again... And listen, I know we as a community, because I'll lump us into the same community here, guys. We as an influencer boxing community... This is not me trashing, but I'm saying for an influencer boxing match, not the UFC, right? Where, oh, I need to get this insane competitive advantage where I can only, like a Islam Makhachev, I know I said this in the video, and Islam Makhachev will drop down 30 pounds to gain just a sliver of it. If Nate Diaz comes into this fight and he wants to put on 15 pounds, you know, he's already at 6 foot. Jake's 6'1". Nate Diaz, 6 foot. I don't see the big difference or the big issue with Nate putting on 15 pounds potentially. Especially, and I don't know how long you guys got into the video or how far you guys got into the video. There was a point, even before Nate fought Conor, where he was at 200 pounds. It's not like Nate can't go up to that weight. He can't balloon up. I don't know, I just think this fight makes a lot more sense than KSI was ever going to give Jake credit for. And it sucks to see that he's not willing to give Jake his props. I get that you have to, right? Like, I think Balloons, you had said that Jake is KSI's endpoint and McGregor was Jake's endpoint. I don't know where Jake's endpoint is going to be. I know he's thrown a lot of different names out there, McGregor being one of them. But let's just run with the assumption that that's the case, right? So KSI's endpoint is Jake and Jake's endpoint. KSI will do everything and anything he possibly can to get Jake down, I think, to his level, right? That's what the whole thing about Fournier was. That's what the whole thing, right? It's one big ploy to get himself on even ground with Jake to make the fight make sense. But dude, you got to come correct. You got to come with facts. And maybe I can make a video, or maybe we could talk about it this stream, like a scenario where there's a better way to market that fight between KSI and Jake. You could even say that the fight would just do numbers, right? Like a lot of emphasis now in YouTube boxing, which is so funny that in YouTube boxing of all places, there's a lot of emphasis put on resumes. Why put all that emphasis, on the resume? You know, now that I'm thinking about it, shouldn't in influencer boxing, where entertainment is a premium, shouldn't we just put more stock in the fact that a fight's going to be entertaining? Am I wrong? I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, guys, in the chat, if you disagree, or if you disagree. But I feel strongly about the fact that when making a fight like KSI and Jake, you should make the fight because it's KSI versus Jake Paul. Right? Doesn't matter who both of these guys have fought. Because Jake started out fighting YouTubers. He fought 44-year-old MMA fighters, man. But KSI has also fought, like, you know, it's like, I don't know. KSI fought Logan Paul twice. Who else did he fight? He fought Temper. He's going to fight Fournier. Is that fight oh, what's up, Beats? I believe it is. No, which one? KSI versus Jake? No, I'm just talking about, I don't know if you saw this, Beats, the video where KSI was trashing Jake for taking the Nate Paul fight. Or I did it again. The Nate Diaz fight. But yeah, dude. I love how both of these guys are like, yeah, we need to put some serious emphasis on who the other person has fought, when both of them haven't come close to scratching the surface of having a decent resume. It's about the entertainment. And that's why this fight should be made. But Unpoppable Balloons also had a really good point, and I'll read this out for you, buddy. Hold on. Just see. Yeah, the Nate Diaz and Jake Paul fight's still official. All right, hold on. Let me switch over to this. Let me see. Okay. So, and I want to transition over into what Balloons posted on, or like what he commented on one of my recent videos. The most recent video, actually. And I think this holds a lot of weight. The three biggest issues stopping the Jake versus KSI fight: weight. Both fighters will want to fight at their own weight. Where to meet in the middle, I don't know. Could do a catch weight. Again, it's influencer boxing. I don't know why we're putting all of this. I understand, right, that, and I'll address each of these, each of the parts of these, because you did write this, Balloons, like a like a college essay, which I love. I'll address each of these as I go down. The weight seems to be gloves up, feet, balloons. Let's get it. Yeah. The weight does seem to be an issue. Both guys bring up weight a lot. Nate got too much heart. Well, also, Nate's like competent at striking. You know, Beats, I don't know if you saw my last video, but I talk about it for 9 minutes about how I kind of go through and I just pick apart some of the things that I disagree with on KSI's end. And we were just talking about that now. I don't know how long you've been in the stream for. But, yeah, I don't know. KSI seems like he's just really doing everything he can possibly to make it an even playing field in the public side. But let me just get back to this real quick. So weight, yeah, it could be a catch weight. Again, influencer boxing. Why are again, and I was going to say this a second ago, I know we're trying to make it much more of a kind of official, or given an air of officialness, right? Or officialness? Officiality? We're trying to give it a nice coat of paint, right? Influencer boxing. We want it, at least I want it to be on the level of regular boxing, where there's rankings and it gets taken seriously, because we owe as much to the athletes that take it seriously. We owe as much to the fans that take it seriously as we do. But for this case, I mean, dude, there have been catch weights in professional combat sports before. Just make a catch weight. So I agree with you there, Balloons. It's both these guys not really willing to kind of play ball with each other. And I believe, how tall is KSI? Talk about Garcia. Yeah, we will get to that. That was a very fun fight to watch. Dude, KSI's 6 foot. KSI definitely wants influencer boxing to be respected. And that's why I don't get why he's I mean, I could understand it, right? He wants to beat an official weight class. I don't even know. Are there really official weight classes in influencer boxing yet? I know there's, I guess cruiserweight is what Jake fights at. But then Slim, is he at cruiserweight as well? Is there just one? I really don't. I couldn't tell you what weight classes we have right now in the sport of influencer boxing. But that's another big one. And all the more reason for this fight to happen at catchweight. All right, number 2. Promotion. Jake is openly accused KSI of trying to pay himself through Misfits by making it a Misfits-only event on X Theory's 013, thus avoiding the winner takes all bet that KSI brought up himself. Jake's main claim being it's not the winner takes all if your company will also be taking a cut of the pay-per-view, as well as DAZN, who runs X Series. It's a good point right there, Balloons. So Jake is trying to make it an MVP X Misfits event separate from X Series so that KSI can actually stick to the bet, and so both companies are making a cut, and thus it being fair overall. Again, that's a fair deal. There is belts, so I imagine they do. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the belts. Don't know exactly if there's a system to where like someone would defend the belt. I really don't know. I'm lost, and maybe we can check that in a second. But again, I'll keep addressing this. And my dog might go a little bit crazy in the background here, just because there's a truck outside, and he gets very possessive over the house. So if you hear something in the background, that's what it is. Ready? So Jake is trying to make it an MVP Xmas. Okay. Okay. KSI mainly using Alex pulling out as a reason not to work with MVP. Yeah, it's again, I see what I see, I should say, is KSI doing a little bit of coping. Right? Jake is a businessman at the end of the day. We've seen him mix business and boxing very well. Can I say that? I think I can. Again, if anyone disagrees, let me know. We could talk it through, but to me personally, it seems like Jake is good for the business side of boxing. Right? So far, totally agree with you, Balloons. I think everything that you're saying is very valid. Where is it? Where am I? Okay. Wow, 3. All right, this one's your biggest paragraph yet, Balloons. 3, the A side. KSI is demanding the fight to be on his weight with a rehydration clause. Only on Misfits X Series 013 be marketed as KSI versus Jake instead of Jake versus KSI, and for KSI to walk out second. The last 2 are purely ego things, agreed. Who is the A side? Jake has better resume and outsells KSI. Again, not even talking about resume here, fellas. I just think that Jake is far bigger of the two of them in terms of pull. I think so. Right, so I agree with you there. Okay, outsells KSI. KSI versus Swarm sold $500K at $10. That's pretty crazy. If you think about it, $500K at $10, that's not bad for KSI versus Swarms. I mean, KSI definitely has draw potential. I don't think anyone's arguing that he doesn't, but Jake is, I think, more skilled, and maybe he's not better at building up a fight or trash talking. KSI might be slightly better at building up a fight. I don't know, dude. This might be one of those times where you do need to argue resume. Because it, like, just from a purely gut standpoint, right? The last fight really demoralized Jake, though. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way he can take this, and I do actually, and I made the video on it, I do think going this direction with Nate, especially because Jake's going to be going into MMA soon, is a really good move. So I think he pivoted really well, but it was a test for him, man. And I think it was not so much demoralizing to him, so much as a lot of people view Jake in a very negative light. So a lot of people were, it happens with every single public heel in the fight game where it's like, all right, yeah, let's all jump on him now, right? Everyone was super duper happy to see Jake go down and take a loss. But to me, a guy that doesn't necessarily mind Jake being who he is and, selling fights in the way that he does, I think it was a beautiful test for him. And I think it was almost a litmus test. Does everyone know what a litmus test is? Kind of like a feeler for how people, like, there's a lot of ways, point is what I'm trying to say, is there's a lot of ways Jake can take this. And I think it gave him a great test in Tommy Fury as to what that upper echelon of starting to get out of the influencer and into regular boxing looks like. And I also think that it showed him how the public will react, to one of his losses. But also, what was it? I had the third one in my head. It was the best point of what I wanted to say. Shit. What was I going to say? Oh, what he can improve upon. That's a big one too, you know. It's uncharted territory for Jake, and I think this loss will go to really teach him a lot. I do think so. You know, I had a better point on it, but I did a video on why everyone is wrong about Jake Paul's loss. I especially the fact that, like, you can maybe argue, and I know Jake was arguing that it was he should have gotten the decision. I don't think he could have gotten the decision, or he should have gotten the decision, but you know, he didn't look bad, right? So, man, I wish I knew the fourth or the third talking point that I wanted to bring up. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. But I don't think that was that bad of a loss as everyone is making it out to be for Jake, right? Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. This loss has legitimized his other wins. That's what it was. Sorry, but Jake would be miserable in MMA. You don't just start MMA. Who would you see him against? Well, I don't know if he's going to be miserable in MMA, but sometimes, you know, marketability comes first in front. It shouldn't be that way. But in a guy like Jake's case, imagine the scenes if Jake KOs Nate and Emmett. I mean, I don't know what I would do, dude. That might actually be, I feel like I think that was scripted. I'd be like, all right, that's the smoking gun. That Tommy loss was also scripted. That would just be the absolute scenes that would take place there. As for you, Beats, the world would light on fire. Yeah, there would be mass rioting if Jake won an MMA against Nate. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be miserable in MMA. He does have that wrestling background. He doesn't. That's the thing. It's like he doesn't really look good in boxing. So what we've seen from Jake's career at this point is that the marketability means more than the actual skill level, I think, and how willing everyone is to tune into his fights, because, you know, Jake's looked competent. Right? He's had upsides to his game, and he's certainly had downsides. But, you know, I don't see a lot of people, at least for me, and I'll call myself an analyst for now, being that I don't do this professionally. Hopefully that's the case soon. Hopefully we can grow this channel to the point where I can do this professionally. But for me, I'm a guy that likes to check out footwork, how guys throw shots, and I don't see a lot of people talking about that with Jake. Even in a loss, even in a win, right? It's either Jake looked really good or Jake looked horrible. Nobody's really willing to kind of go into the granular details, right? And so I don't think a lot of people, if this makes any sense, let me know if this makes sense, guys. I don't think a lot of people are really looking necessarily too hard at the skill set or how technical or how much Jake has progressed. It's like, does he get a knockout? Okay, cool. If he gets knocked out, he looked great. And then if he loses, oh, he looked terrible. So it's less so about, I think, how sloppy he looks or how bad he would be. It's a smart move for Jake because business-wise, he's going up with the PFL. The PFL gets an interesting spin with their super fight series. So yeah, maybe he looks miserable, but PFL is going to get a lot of money out of it. Jake's probably going to get a lot of money out of it. That's my take on that. But let me get back to the paragraphs at hand here. You guys always get me distracted on the stream. You guys in chat. Let's see. Where was I? Okay, we were talking about KSI versus Swarms. Okay, so 5 million total. Whoa, they sold 500K at $10. That's pretty good. KSI Temper sold 300K at 40, so 12 mil. Jake Woodley 2 sold 300K at 60, so 18 mil. Silva sold at a minimum 200K. Silva sold less than, that's crazy. It was 60 in the U.S., 40 outside the U.S., and reports range from 200K sales to 300K, so let's lowball it. So lowball, it was 9 mil. You did, Balloons, you did your fucking research on this, dude. You did your homework on this. Jeez. Okay, so lowball, it was around 9 mil. But realistically, it was around 14 to 15 mil. Jake Paul versus Tommy lowballed at 500K at $50, so lowballed is 25 mil. But the high of 775K buys that got reported later puts it at a crazy near 40 million. The only way KSI can argue he outsells Jake is if he includes KSI versus Logan, which sold at 2 mil at $20. By the way, also, just to illustrate my point, KSI versus Logan, one of the sloppiest boxing matches ever. But people look at that fight as if it was this, you know, like, oh, yeah, KSI and him went to battle, they duked it out. And again, they were two warriors in there. But I'm saying, like, do you understand what I'm saying, guys? It's gotten a little bit better now because the athletes have become a little bit more technical. But I think a lot of people in influencer boxing, and I don't necessarily know if they should feel like this, they don't necessarily look at guys to be like an Anderson Silva where their Balloon is the man. Y'all need to collab. We're trying to get Balloons on the stream for a minute, dude. Balloons and I will work in some capacity in the future because he's an OG. I mean, you guys are all OGs, the 4 people in this. You guys are the technical term. You're literally the definition of OGs. The 4 first people. Pretty soon, it's going to be, you know what I mean? There's going to be thousands of viewers in here, and you can mark my words on that. But you guys are all the OGs, and of course I appreciate you listening in. Numerically and logically, KSI being an A-side makes no sense. KSI versus Joe would have to more than double his last pay-per-view, and Jake versus Nate would have to flop the hardest a pay-per-view has ever flopped for the status to change. The windmill memes of KSI versus Logan was great. I'd be down to jump on. We'll get you on one of these days on the stream. Yeah, and that's the other thing, too, is like Nate's a big money fight. That's the other reason. I outlined that in the video why I think that it's a fantastic idea that these two guys go up against each other. Is Nate's going to... Could you imagine, guys, like, dude, the run-up to this fight's going to be hilarious. Yes, I shared your live. You're a GOAT. Was that on Instagram? Let me add you on Instagram. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, though. They're going to come in and be like, why is this Indiana Jones looking dude talking about boxing? Who is this guy? And then they're going to be intrigued and they're going to tune in. Y'all need to share this. I appreciate it, Beats. I appreciate it. I doubt it and Jake will... wow, my active reading skills are pretty bad, guys. I'm sorry about that. Will KSI versus Joe more than double? I doubt it. Yeah, dude, Joe's also not that big. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. And this is why I love you guys to death, is because we think the same way, and it's almost an echo chamber in here. Oh, Facebook. Okay. Yeah. Let me know. Yeah, that's why I love you guys. We all think the same, I feel like, you know? Now, I love disagreements. I love when people leave comments saying I disagree with you, because then like the people that like really engage with me, you know what I'm talking about? Not like the people that are like, you should kill yourself, you don't know what you're talking about in boxing. But I've gotten, excuse me, some guys that will come in and be like, you know, this is what I think you could do better. And then, like, I love that stuff too, but it's good to see that, for instance, with the Kingpin video, and I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent here, but with the Kingpin video, I thought for a little bit I was the only person that felt that way. Whereas, like, I was watching this and I was kind of like, this doesn't seem like that good, if I'm being blunt. Like, it didn't really hold my attention in a big way. And so I made the video, and I remember actually talking to my mom, and I was like, Ma, I don't know if, like, I feel this way, but I'm going to just put out the video anyways, because I'll be honest, and if people... And then it was good to see that you guys also had kind of felt the same way, and I wasn't going crazy or something, where I felt like that event was kind of overwhelmingly mid. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you guys. Let's get back to it, though. Okay. Probably won't sell anywhere near Tommy, but I doubt it flops. Will Jake versus Nate flop? Probably won't sell anywhere near Tommy, but I doubt it flops. I don't know, dude. Nate Diaz is a pull of his own. I remember people talking about this ever since that Silva fight. Like, they wanted to see Jake versus Nate. And this is because my day job is I work in podcast post-production, and some like really, really a high-level comedian. Now, he's like a I'm not going to say who it is just out of respect, but he's like a B-level comedian. He was calling for that Nate Diaz fight for a while. So it might be a bigger draw than you think, Balloons. I think so. I think just off of Jake, or like, listen, you're going to sell a fight just off of Jake, a natural boss, dream big always, no matter what. Appreciate your beats. Appreciate you. You guys are making me blush. Oh my God. No, what was I going to say? It's going to come back to me in a second. Oh, I think off of Jake alone, right, you're going to naturally get some pay-per-view sales because he's Jake. Everyone wants to see him get punched in the face, right? You have the people that kind of respect what he's doing. You have the people that absolutely can't stand his guts. And then you add Nate Diaz to the mix. That's another dude that's what's the word? No, it's not. It wouldn't be well looked upon. He's held dear by a lot of MMA fans. Let's just say it like that. Jake versus Tommy was in Saudi Arabia. Saudi money goes crazy, which is the main reason I would think Jake versus Nate wouldn't outsell. That's true too. Yeah. But maybe they go to Saudi Arabia. Maybe they sell it out. Oh, no, they're fighting in Texas. Never mind. I wonder what arena they're fighting in. I have to see. I'll check the fight poster again. But let's finish off this absolutely just technical breakdown that Balloons has here. Will this fight ever happen? I highly doubt it because KSI just isn't making sense. I agree with that. The two things he keeps clinging to are the records, which we see whenever he mentions Joe having a better record than Tommy. Hilarious because Joe, I mentioned in the video, he's kind of like if a smoke screen, like a snake oil salesman was a boxer. You know? Like, dude. He's if like you ever like see those ads on porn sites where it's like dick enlargement pills? Like that's what he is as a boxer. He's selling you a fallacy. The two things he keeps clinging to are the records, which we see whenever he mentions Joe having a better record than Tommy, despite the context and him being the far bigger celebrity. But music fans and YouTube fans don't translate to pay-per-view sales, as has been proven already. Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? KSI has been at the top of YouTube. Jake has been at the top of the YouTube game for so long that you'd think at this point there wouldn't be, you know what I mean? Everyone's kind of in the know that KSI and Jake both box. So I don't necessarily know, how do I say this? Balloons, was that a deep pull? I just think I don't know. He's selling something that's not true. He is the dick pills of YouTube boxing, dude. He's the rhinoceros pill you see at a gas station. What the fuck was I gonna do? Dude, I can't, man. We're getting wild this stream, man. It was only a matter of time. Because I think I'm funny. No, I actually don't think I'm that funny. I think I'm like medially funny sometimes, maybe. But that'll be for another time in another place. What the fuck was I saying? What was I saying? My God, dude. My ADD is going through the roof right now. Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, so everyone that's kind of in the know knows that both of these men box. You're not going to see, unless you get a couple of people that are like, all right, well, let me tune into KSI this time. There's not a lot of crowds to pull from anymore. Right? Maybe you get casual boxing fans that don't really know about Jake or KSI, but that's also kind of just posted you on here. Who? Wait, who posted me? You posted me? Beach, you're gonna... Oh my God. Beach is gonna he's gonna send the link and it's gonna be like, everyone's gonna tune in. There's gonna be like a 5-minute delay on the stream. She's be like, dick pills. You'll be like, what? Talking about Jake Paul versus KSI? Dick pills. Pick up J City. Yeah, J City, the GOAT. You guys are all some goats. YouTube, yeah. Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, dude. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of sample groups to pull from anymore, man. I just don't. I really don't. And I think that both those guys, while extremely relevant in terms of the YouTube boxing space, they might even be on a little bit short of a leash than a lot of people expect. So that's a very good point. But KSI is just kind of being, I mean, and let's bring it back to what the beginning of this conversation was, is that KSI is just being silly, man. He's just being a silly salamander. You know? I'm excited to see Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. Dude, that's going to be a fun fight. That's going to be probably the most entertaining fight Jake has had yet. But KSI can't admit that Jake is sometimes just a step ahead of what people think. I've been saying it for years, dude. I've been saying it for years. That Jake is just, he's playing 4D chess out there. I'm telling you, he knows what he's doing. It's never a random, maybe at the beginning, right, when he was fighting Gibb and Deji and all that stuff. Maybe that was a little bit more kind of random or one-off thing, but at some point, he must have figured out a great path to get the most money possible, the most amount of notoriety possible in YouTube boxing, and the most amount of attention on him in general. Perhaps the vehicle just ended up being boxing. You know, does he want to be a champion? I don't think, that's the other thing. I don't think Jake honestly expects himself to be a champion. I'd say Jake is in this probably for the notoriety, and that's, I mean, I don't know, for purists of the sport, that might rub them the wrong way, but, you know, it's smart. It's smart. I got to give it to him. And again, I don't think KSI ever would. You know? What else we got to talk about? We want to talk about Garcia versus Diaz? Garcia versus Diaz. I keep mixing up the names. Garcia versus Davis. It was a good fight. Very good fight. Apparently there was that mole in Garcia's camp. That's insane. That doesn't delegitimize the win, but, or illegitimize the win. Doesn't illegitimize the win at all on Davis's side, but it does leave kind of a sour taste in people's. It left a sour taste in my mouth, honestly. And it sucks that one of the biggest fights we've seen in boxing, in mainstream boxing up until this point, something that could potentially elevate the sport to where it used to be in terms of popularity, right? When you have guys like Tyson Fury, guys like Garcia and Davis. What's this about a mole? I'll let you know in a second. When you have guys like that willing to make, I'll fill you in a second. When you have guys like that willing to make these big fights that will elevate the sport of boxing, it sucks that you get small controversies like these that kind of muddy the waters a little bit. So balloons, since you didn't know what was going on, there was, what did you think about Garcia's lack of cover? Yeah, no, Garcia does do that. He'll kind of walk in, and that was one of the things I wanted to do analysis on the fight, but I didn't end up doing the fight companion for that because it didn't work out time-wise, and I don't know, I was just very flustered at that point, so I didn't end up doing the fight companion. But Garcia does, when he starts to open up with combinations, leave himself exposed like that, and there is that lack of cover. And he also struggles to leave the pocket once he throws. He's pretty bad moving backwards, and so he was ripe for a counter. But there was apparently a mole on Palpable Balloons in, I think it was, Garcia's camp. Gervonta Davis had sent the guy over for taking a hard fight. Major respect for Garcia taking a hard fight and has come up rather than... Yeah, no, dude, that's what I'm saying. It's major respect to both those guys like him, again, guys like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder for making those big fights. But what Davis had done is it apparently sent over a mole and a training partner to kind of just monitor everything that was going on in the lead up to the fight in Garcia's camp. And so I think the mole had figured out that Garcia had some sort of injury to the body, and it is kind of fucked up when you realize the fight got ended with a body shot. You know, that does mar it a little bit. That does, again, muddy the waters in a certain way. But it's fantastic that these guys are willing to make these fights, and I hope a lot of more people kind of follow suit. I hope we see a lot more of these super fights in the near future. No footwork and neck agility. Only I've heard that he coaches himself. Joe Goose does nothing. Who, Garcia? He is kind of I could see him doing that, because didn't he turned down Canelo, or he left Canelo's camp? Seems kind of like an issue thing, or not an issue, ego thing, excuse me. That does seem like an ego issue. So I could definitely see that happening. I literally am watching myself with the stream right now, with the chat. I can't really, I'm so far away from the computer, I'd have to stretch my arms. It was a good fight, though. I enjoyed the fight. I watched it with my dad. What did you guys think of the live, not the live fight companion, but it got blocked. It got taken down because I showed the fight, and Showtime didn't like that. But my reaction, like when I recorded my reaction, did you guys enjoy that video, or what did you think about that? I'm also thinking about I know I've been saying this for the last 6 streams. I'm thinking about doing a podcast, but this time I'm going to be working with a really, really high quality producer. So we're going to meet, what day is it today? Wednesday. I'm going to meet with him Friday, and we're going to discuss it. I love the fight. Dude, it was a fantastic fight. One of those times where it's like the spotlight is on boxing, they showed out. But it is that small bit of controversy that has to kind of fuck it up a little bit. And it just sucks. It sucks. There's no other way to say it. But I'm going to be working on a podcast. Definitely want to do that. It was a nice quick vid. Yeah, right? Until it got taken down. My retention numbers are getting better, but they're still not where I want them to be. I got to figure out a way around that. Because on the streams, I mean, people stay for hours, but I don't know how to translate that into a video. But I don't know if you guys would be interested in a podcast. I'm thinking about getting the producer in there. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. I've worked with him before. And then possibly a third guy from the community that had found my videos. You know? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's also kind of like these streams serve to see what you guys, what the litmus test around this channel is, what you guys want to see, what I can do better. You know, I'm always open to suggestions. But I like, my first love was podcasting, so I've always wanted to kind of hop on and do a nice podcast. But I like doing the videos too. I mean, I enjoy. Do you guys want to see more reactions to fights? Do you want to see more breakdowns? The breakdowns always do well. That's like when I go through and I watch a fight and I give my takedown or my breakdown, my analysis, my takes. Those do well. So I know you guys like those. But and then also news reactions do pretty well as well. But I just always want to ask what you guys are feeling. Why do you see your mom and David? Who do you see your mom to what? Who do you see your mom to Davis facing against next? Oh, I think you just missed. Yeah, okay. Sorry, the autocorrect. Yeah, so I was like, what the fuck? My mom's gonna be fighting Davis. Dude, I would not let my mom there. I would not let my mom get punched by that. I think I would die if I got punched by that man. I don't know how my mom would fare. Probably not well at all. So I'm guessing you're asking who would I want to see Davis facing against next? I mean, I don't know. Honestly, anyone in the upper echelon. I got to see. Let's see who else is in that division right now. Gervonta Davis. I'm sure they're ripe with guys that he could face off against. So he fought this last one at lightweight, correct? His last one was at lightweight category. Okay, yeah, so that's at 135. 135 weight class in boxing. Give me a second here, fellas. Oh, okay. Wow, yeah. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, Kambosos, Isaac Cruz. There's so many, dude. Yeah, dude, I want to, because Shakur Stevenson's been on the come up for a minute, and he's super duper talented. I tune into his fights sometimes. If they want to do another big fight where, again, I feel like someone's star power always has to, when you make these big types of fights, and this is why a lot of them get jammed up in boxing, someone's star power kind of has to lessen a little bit when they lose. But if they want to make that Shakur Stevenson versus Gervonta Davis fight, I would not at all protest that. Devin Haney's another one. You could literally, dude, I don't know. You could literally make any of these. Javier Fortuna. Dude, any of them. You got to give credit to boxing. They have a lot of names. But it's tough. I don't know. What do you guys think the main reason why boxing doesn't have the same marketability that UFC does is? Is it kind of like a baseball versus basketball thing where it's like, well, maybe that's not the best. But it's kind of a good analogy because baseball, the rosters are significantly bigger. I just feel like in boxing, there's a bajillion. I think it would have to be a pay-per-view again. It would have to be the one with Devin Haney. Yeah. Just stack a pay-per-view with it. I agree. I think there's so many like different weight classes in boxing at this point that it's like, dude, it's hard to keep up with, honestly. You know, I'll admit this, dude. When it comes to mainstream boxing, I am what you would call a normie. Much more of a normie. I do know the names, right? And I've seen highlights of like Kambosos. I've seen highlights of Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia. One of my favorites is actually Pretty Boy. Who is it? Let me see. Josh Kelly. I don't know if anyone knows who Pretty Boy Josh Kelly is, but he's super duper fun to watch with this technical defense. But I will say I don't catch as much boxing as I probably should. Unfortunately. So I will admit that. But if there are boxers that can get me into the sport, it would be guys like Gervonta Davis. It would be guys like Tyson Fury. I'm a huge Tyson Fury fan. That heavyweight division, I believe that, what's his name? Anthony Joshua. Didn't Anthony Josh, he had a big comeback win. Not comeback win, but he needed that for his career. I mean, comeback in terms of his career. A bounce back win would be a better word or better phrase to describe it. So yeah, honestly, not as much of a boxing fan, or at least a traditional boxing fan as I probably should be, but you know, I'm very much more specialized in UFC. Know my way around a little bit of one, a little bit of Muay Thai. Oh, I just burned myself here. I got a candle. I can't even hold the candle thing because it would burn my hand, but I have to be careful of that. But yeah, no, sign me up for Gervonta Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. I would watch that in an instant. You know what I mean? Such a good fight. Who do we got coming up in the UFC? Or I should say, what do we got coming up in the UFC? Thoughts on KSI wanting to fight the Brazilian guy in Brazil, telling the Brazilian guy to drop out of the Kingpin tournament? That's a big dick play. It's a big dick move. I feel like that's KSI. I mean, if you want to... Well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, right? Is that an infinitely more entertaining fight now, even after one fight where Whindersson Nunes looked way better than his past ones than Joe Fournier? Yeah. Is that a really sad idea to think about? Yeah. Imagine that. Like, I don't know if you guys watched any of the Whindersson Nunes' highlights before he fought in the Kingpin tournament, but he made a massive leap. You know, he did talk in the lead up to the fight about how hard he's trained and how much he's been trying to improve. It was clear to see in this fight how much he's improved. And I just love how, like, he has one really good performance and the Brazilian fans come out in full effect. And already, I feel like the entire consensus of the crowded YouTube community or the YouTube boxing community is that this would be a better fight than Joe Fournier. You know what I mean? But, I mean, dude, sign me up for that fight. You know, I think he does need to, obviously, there's a contract in place, right? He can't just drop out of the Kingpin tournament. But after that's over, and Whindersson looks like one of the guys that will probably make it to the final. So if Whindersson wants to take this, you know, Kingpin W, right? Or this kid, let's just say he wins the tournament. Let's roll with that hypothetical situation there. He wants to take that huge win and parlay it into a fight with KSI. I'd watch that all day. And I will say, based off of this, let's just say it like this. The Whindersson that I saw in that Kingpin quarterfinal fight, I think has a very good chance of beating KSI. He has to get around the power, but he showed great defense, great head movement. I think he presents a very good matchup to KSI. But obviously, you just can't drop out of the tournament. That's, again, I just feel like KSI has just been taking L after L recently. It is weird how it started with Wade, and then he can't seem to get out of his own way with it almost feels like a lack of self-awareness. KSI is going to be fighting Whindersson next. So Whindersson has to get through Kenny. And I'm going to drop what is it? Jarvis versus Gibb. It's going to be a fun one. Both those guys similar in stature. I'm going to drop a King Kenny reaction, not a reaction, but a breakdown video where I watch this fight. I want to do one for Whindersson Nunes. I keep thinking Anderson Silva because they're both from Brazil. But I'm going to do probably a breakdown for all of the... Yeah, it is Ego. No, it definitely is Ego, for sure. I'm going to do a breakdown for lack of self-awareness, sure, yeah. But mainly Ego. Well, that Ego and lack of self-awareness usually go hand in hand. So I'm going to do breakdowns on all those fights, everyone that looked good. I don't know, do you guys want to see a Jarvis breakdown? Jarvis didn't wow me with his performance. I think Gibb could definitely get that. I mean, he looked good. He looked technical. He looked tight, but it just didn't... I don't know. Something about it was forgettable. Maybe it was the entirety of the event, but I feel like Tom Zanetti just kind of quit. You know, if Tom Zanetti hadn't have quit, then maybe we'd see something different. But it's tough to tell, man. But if you guys want to see a Jarvis breakdown, I'll do that. I would do that for you guys. Hold on one second. So I got to sit like right here. Let me correct my posture. I'm so stupid. That's better. I want to make sure I'm more prevalent in the camera. Break down the 2 next fights in the male sides would be dope. Yeah. Rest of the fights I don't care about. That's what I figured. What'd you guys think of the women's bracket? Barbie looks pretty dangerous, huh? Barbie looks pretty destructive. But she's a tank. She's an absolute tank. So that's interesting. That interests me. Potentially seeing her versus Emily Brooke. That's a really, to me, that's an interesting fight. But besides that, I don't know. And this is not me knocking the women. I mean, like, dude, I'm not also going to be the guy to ever say, like, oh, they're OnlyFans models, they shouldn't be fight. Dude, like, I think one of the core values of the fight community is that we should accept all who come to us, right? With open arms. If anyone wants to step in there, it takes a special breed of human being to step in there. Whether you're doing it for the money, whatever. That's my perspective. Especially in influencer boxing. Sorry, someone just called me. Especially in influencer boxing, when the stakes are so much higher. If you lose, you get put on a meme template and you're circulating around the internet for weeks on end. You know? But yeah, with that being said, I will say just strictly from a watchability and technicality standpoint, the women didn't really do it for me. And it's not because they're women. It's just because it was a lot of, well, it was a lack of defense and a lot of just flailing. I was really I thought that Whitney Johns would look a lot better than she did in terms of technicality, because I saw her hitting pads. She looked a lot more tight with her technique and her defense. But when you are fighting Barbie, I think it's, and Barbie didn't have any prior experience. You can kind of get sucked into fighting that almost more unhinged type of of affair there, But yeah, I'll do a breakdown on the next. So I guess that would be the semifinal bracket. But I also want to break down how I thought that King Kenny evolved in his last fight, and I'm gonna leave that for the video because I could talk for hours about that, dude. I'm very happy for King Kenny. Very happy because I put out a TikTok talking about how I thought he was the most technical boxer, and so many people got mad at me. So like, he's not technical at all. He sucks. He only has a 1-2. We know that's not true now. So I'm super happy for King Kenny, man. Looks really, really good. Looked like a world beater. He's like a serious, I think not even in the Kingpin tournament, but I think he's a serious matchup for anyone in the YouTube boxing world right now. For sure. What else we got to talk about? UFC coming up. UFC Fight Night. Song Yadong versus Ricky Simon. Okay. No, never mind. We don't have to talk about that. What's the next UFC actual event? Oh, that's May 6th. I wanted to go to that. That's in Jersey. But I start a new job. That's the other thing, guys. What? I start a new job soon. I don't suspect it will affect any of the uploading because I'm going to try to curtail my my uploading schedule around it, or at least my recording schedule around that, so I can upload videos even when I'll record something, edit it, and just have it ready to go normal time. Do you guys like the 3 uploads per week? Does that do it for you guys? The 2 to 3 uploads a week? And then a stream on top of that? Streaming is easy. Streaming, I just sit here and I bullshit for about an hour, 15, or however long. Today it might be closer to an hour, but depends on how much we have to talk about. I feel like the hour stream is good, right? Like it's kind of just like a little podcast in itself. It's not too chonky, too meaty, What is the last one? What is the one we did right before I went on vacation? Was that 2 hours? I think so, right? Let me see. Man, we've been building this channel. I appreciate you guys. Look at this. That last one was about 2 hours. So it really, I mean, it fluctuates, but you guys feel good with the uploading schedule right now? I also don't want to like overly upload, sacrifice the quality of my videos. I work hard. I'm very granular with the way I edit. I like take issue with the smallest things sometimes on the timeline, and I wish I didn't have to, but it's kind of just the way I'm wired. I could start uploading stream highlights too, I suppose. Is there anything else you guys wanted me to talk about before I get out of here? Anything? UFC 280 is looking real good. Aljamain Sterling, Henry Cejudo, Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns. Dude, that's going to be a fun one. I wish I could make it into New Jersey for that. Excuse me. Kron Gracie, Charles Jourdain, Movsar Evlev. He's undefeated versus Bryce Mitchell. Dude, they're just feeding Bryce Mitchell to the wolves at this point. I love it. He got Ilya Taporia last time. He got smoked. Now they're like, yep, here's Evlev, 16-0 in the UFC. Oh, they said a big old fuck you to Bryce Mitchell. Drew Dober, Matt Frivola. Wow, dude. Devin Clark. Chaos Williams. They're supposed to have Andre Petrovsky versus Arman Petrosian, but that got canceled. Anything else you guys want me to discuss about my grave robbing days? Because that's exactly what I look like right now. I'm not even sure if this hat is faced in the right direction. I don't know. But if not, I'll get on out of here. Guys, of course, also, real quick, before I do, we do have the merch page. Let me pull it up here. Give me a second. Uno momento, por favor. Give me a second here. Chaps, folks. It's the Gloves Up Fight Show store. I want to go see all the products. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to photo. All right, right here. We've got this store. You can go to the link on my Instagram. There's my Instagram right there. It's also up on the top of the screen. But you can go to my store. We've got Olympic influencer boxing stuff. The totally legal streaming service, right? What I use to stream my fights totally legally. And then, of course, just some Gloves Up Fight Show merch. I wanted to release another line called Combat Consulting, but it was deemed too violent. I wanted to do an appeal because I thought that I wanted to tell him, I was like, dude, it's not actually about war or anything like that. It's just about combat sports. So I made the appeal, and we'll see if they have it. But yeah, that design might be up in a little bit. I know we had someone buy one of the exclusive designs already, so if you guys want to do that, feel free. I also have my other page for my merch. But without further ado, I guess we could skate out of here for today, unless there's anything else. Last call for the stream here. Yeah, we're filling it out anyways. We're filing out. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much. That's been the stream for this week. I will see you same time next week. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you in the next one.